You have your phone on you?
Yeah, I do.
You want to go ahead and check on YouTube real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, folks. Just give us a minute. We're just making sure. It's been a while since we did a live stream, so we want to make sure everything is good to go. Searching it up on YouTube. So you guys could catch us on YouTube. You can catch us on Facebook. I believe we also have Twitch set up for whoever is interested in career on Twitch, which I don't think is many people, but for those of you that are into IRL content, maybe this will tickle your fancy. With us, we have a very important guest, a very beloved guest, someone that I have had many beautiful experiences with, built a lifelong bond with, the type of bond that it doesn't matter how long you don't speak to each other. After you have some near-death experiences together in dormitories, you build a very close bond with a brotherhood. So it's Ibrahim. How's everything going, Ibrahim?
Alhamdulillah, cannot complain. Little on the spot. I was not expecting to be facing your followers right now, being on the live stream. But hey, I'm glad to be here. Yeah, glad to be here, man.
We appreciate you being on, and of course we've got Akbar.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? So we are coming back with our career counseling hotline, where Nabil and I get together and we just talk through the IT market. We talk through different career aspects and really just guide individuals and guide our callers as to what we think would be a good fit for them based on where they're currently at. So Nabil just introduced Ibrahim. Ibrahim, thank you so much for joining us today, man. It's always a pleasure to speak to you. And Ibrahim, why don't we just jump right into things? We spoke maybe about last week, and you had some thoughts about possibly not getting into tech because you have worked in tech in the Bay Area for the past few years now, but possibly making a switch into a different career. Do you want to just kind of give an overview of what the last few years have looked like for you in your career, working in tech, especially in California?
Yeah, for sure. So the last almost 6 years, I've been working at I don't know if I should say the company name, but we'll just say the major utility company in San Diego. I'll just leave it at that. There's only one. Um, and I was working there as a network engineer for about the last 5 to 6 years. And so in August of this, we're almost done with October currently. August 1st of this year, my company in its entire history has never done layoffs. And in August of this year, we had a mass layoff for the first time in the company's history, where almost about 300 employees were gutted in just during one call. I'm not exactly sure what the situation is now, but we had basically our entire cybersecurity department gutted. We had our engineering department outsourced, and the funny thing, we had director level positions gutted. But the funny thing is, even though all these positions were being gutted, the company at the exact same time started hiring for product managers, specifically senior group product managers. And is it okay to be frank on this call, Nabil,
Please,
Sure.
Akbar?
please.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you guys, bro. I've never been the biggest fans of POs, PMs in general, because and there's in my experience, there's two kinds of POs, PMs, right? You have kind of like the old school guys who kind of just do like backlog prioritizations or backlog clearing or future prioritizations. Their focus is more so on the stand-ups. And the thing I guess that kind of irked me was that from my viewpoint, I mean, all the POPMs I've worked with, I've had a great relationship with. But from my viewpoint, especially when you're coming from the engineering department, it just seemed like the balance of work kind of just didn't really seem to be. I don't know what's the word I'm looking for over here. It didn't really seem to be scaled correctly, I'd say. But the thing is, the pay band for POPMs at my company, regardless, was about 100K more than what engineers got paid.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually kind of what made me start looking into this field. Like, if you can't beat them, you might as well join them.
Well,
And
you know,
so,
just a
please.
quick thought, Ibrahim, just to kind of touch on, what you said. So first and foremost, like that's unfortunate, but very common that there was that like tension between the engineering department and the POs and PMs. And that usually I feel like from my experience and from, what I've seen in the industry usually happens because a PO or PM lacks a backbone to be able to negotiate with stakeholders. And what I mean by that is like a PO or a PM is kind of in that middle position. They have stakeholders, upper management, maybe the VP or CTO or whoever based on the size of the company, trying to drive timelines and trying to get things accomplished in the way that they want it done. And unless a PO or PM has the ability to be able to kind of negotiate those types of timelines or to be truthful, to speak openly and honestly and be able to back up what they're saying with evidence, what ultimately ends up happening in the lack of having a backbone is they start kind of transferring that same stress or pressure over to the engineering team, which is not the right way to go about it, right? Because now you have unreasonable expectations, number one, being set on engineers and unreasonable expectations being promised to the stakeholders, right? And then when it comes time for a throat to choke, they're not trying to get their throat choked. Do you see what I'm saying? So
Sure. Or so
yeah, go
are you
ahead.
saying that you're somewhat of a like an engineering advocate? Is that is that
One
kind of what you see?
Absolutely. So in my opinion, and as far as like healthy product owner or product management is concerned, right? You can't have an engineering team that's not happy with the expectations that are being put on them. That cannot be the case. Okay? Rather, the expectations are derived from the engineering team themselves, and it's based on what they consider as possible and feasible that the plan is put together. Because at the end of the day, if you're sizing the work properly, well, who's sizing this work? It's not a product owner or product manager sizing. If they are, then they're doing an injustice to the team. It's the engineers themselves that are doing the sizing, right? Once you have those sizes allocated, the product owner or product manager needs to look, okay, what's my team's capacity or velocity, right? And does the size of work that's being expected of them meet the velocity by which they've been operating? If not, then I need to have a backbone and talk to the stakeholders and show them the facts, right? It's not on me. I'm not a bad guy. It's not on them. They're not bad people. It's just that this plan is not congruent with the facts on the floor. Do you see what I'm saying here? So these are the
Sure,
types of
absolutely.
conversations that, if not had, if you don't have these, or the product owner product manager doesn't have that ability to push back to stakeholders and management, then they start putting undue expectations onto the engineering team. Now it's a whole nother story if the engineering team sized things properly and it looks like we have a good plan and we didn't end up meeting that plan. Now we have to reassess, okay, are we sizing things properly? Are we not? But at the end of the day, that's a more fair situation. What do you think, Akbar?
Yeah, I would say a good PM goes up to bat for their team. I think the PM is the first line of defense when it comes to protecting an engineer's capacity. I have had so many engineers in the past always complain that people are pinging them on Slack or Teams to do one-off things on the side. Hey, can you check this out? Hey, can you fix this? Hey, can you do this or that? And I would get mad, right? I would get mad for my team because I'm like, you come to me with a request, right? You should not, there should be zero instance a stakeholder is messaging a separate engineer on the side to try to get them to do something that is not related to the backlog whatsoever. It's completely out of scope. We're doing scope creep, right? And that type of work should all get filtered through the PM, and it should go through the right channels. You know, if it is prioritized work, it should go into the backlog, and then it should get taken up at the next grooming session with the team, and then prioritize accordingly. But I think that's, back to what Nabil said, a lot of PMs can feel shy, or they may feel pressured to speak up for their team. And ultimately, you're doing yourself an injustice and you're doing your team an injustice, because if you try to please everybody, you're going to please nobody, right?
So I'm guessing that wasn't the situation you were dealing with. What was your circumstance like, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, first of all, I wish we had you as our POPM. That would have been awesome. I've never heard of the kind of advocacy that you're pushing for, but that was something that I suppose we could have definitely abused. Um, you know, I mean, personally, at my company, our engineering managers, this was something I noticed too. Our leads were all moving into the progression from engineer was to a role like CPM, TPM. You know, um, after about a decade or so of just solid engineering, these guys were all moving into managing ADO boards, managing stories. I'm not a POPM yet. I haven't started the training for it yet. But they were essentially moving into those roles. The kind of roles that you guys teach in your course, and they were utilizing the skill sets that you guys teach and utilize in your courses as well too. Um, I did notice one thing. I did notice that there was a distinction. Some of our older PMs, some of the old school guys, the ones who are more focused on, there were guys who were more focused on the waterfall, the backlog, the future portion of things, and then there were there was the younger crowd, the younger POPMs, and these guys were more. I'd say that they had domain expertise. Like if there was a tool that they were being asked to help build out or to work with, these guys didn't take like a hands-off approach where they were just kind of sitting in the back and just kind of maintaining the schedule. These guys actually knew the nitty gritty of the tool itself. So those POPMs I definitely enjoyed working with, and that's been my experience. Like especially with the new generation, like of POPMs, 2025 and going beyond. I really feel like the ones who will thrive will be the ones who actually have domain expertise in the field that they're entering into, rather than just sticking to their, all right, this is the waterfall method, this is the, I forgot what the other one is called. These are the methods, and these are like our structures that we follow. I personally I enjoyed working more with the younger generation of POPMs who knew what the tool was about that they were building out. So that's been my limited experience with POPMs.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that, because I totally agree with you. I think the market and the career of a PM has changed so much, where you're not just a guy that writes stories anymore. You're not, anyone could write stories, honestly. Engineers could write stories, QAs could write stories, stakeholders themselves could write stories, right? Your job really is to be the voice of the end user. And the only way to do that is if you actually interact with the product that you're building, right? Whatever it is you're building, you have to be the subject matter expert at it. You don't have to know how to code it. You absolutely don't need to know how to develop it, but you should know how to use it, and how and what features would enhance this tool and what would hurt it, right? And the only way you can do that is by interacting with it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And things are about to change quite significantly. You might be aware of the fact that, we're not just doing the CSPO cert now. We have these two AI certs, that one is a product owner, AI specializing in product ownership certification. And then there's another one that's a bit more broad. It's just like general AI prompting certification, right? Because that's not tied to any one specific service, but rather like overall, how do you do prompting that's going to serve you best, right? So these two certifications, CompTIA cert, and then another one is a Scrum Alliance certification. Interestingly enough, a lot of you guys have heard of the term like vibe coding. I'm sure you've might be familiar as well. It's essentially using AI in order to like write code. A product owner or product manager should not be writing code. You're not the expert at writing code, and you shouldn't try to be, or shouldn't attempt to be, right? That's why when we write stories, user stories, right, we're not writing implementation details in those user stories, right? If you're going to write implementation details, you're kind of now going into the domain of what an engineer is best at, right? But with that being said, when it comes to mockups, when it comes to giving as much context as possible to the engineering team as to what's expected, the industry standard has been to use Figma, other tools like Figma, in order to give those types of designs and expectations. Surprisingly enough, in when it comes to Fang, more and more job requirements are expecting product owners and product managers to have some level of proficiency vibe coding. Okay, because you're not actually coding the enterprise level application, but rather you're kind of putting together that user interface, perhaps, or whatever you're trying to show. So now, when it comes to engineers looking at what they're trying to accomplish, they're not just looking at text on a screen as a user story, but they're actually looking at a amateur level application that they're now building out in an enterprise manner. Do you see what I'm saying? So this is the type of stuff that I feel like most people in the industry haven't yet gotten on to, but it's not due to it being way too advanced. Because honestly, once you've kind of gained a few skills, obviously this is not going to pertain to you as much since you first of all, I just want to caveat real quick, and we'll get back to that train of thought. But just a quick caveat: you as a person from the engineering team stepping into a product role are the golden goose. You are the ideal candidate for the upper echelon of how much a product owner or product manager could and should earn, right? Because there's nothing better than an actual engineer now learning the skills of product and stepping into that role, because your subject matter expertise or domain level knowledge, the only thing you're lacking is the traditional product sense or the ceremonies that are done, in Agile, all of those types of things that will come very easily to you. I'm sure. Um, but I'm speaking right now, going back to the main train of thought. I'm speaking right now mainly to those that are not as technical, right? Vibe coding or doing these types of things that you're actually building out amateur level software is not that difficult. You just have to understand proper frameworks as to how to do it, and once you're able to do that, or once you understand these frameworks and get these certifications that we give, you'll be surprised at what you're able to accomplish. So yeah, absolutely. I think you know you stepping into product. I had a senior level engineer that I love very much. He spent his whole career in development, specifically within healthcare, and specifically within like healthcare interoperability. And I consider him like a mentor of mine, and in terms of software development. Even though I'm no longer working at that company, we have a once a week call where I pick his brain in different aspects, because anyone that spent their life in an industry has built a domain knowledge that I respect deeply, right? Even though if I'm not an engineer, but I respect that. He always talks about how he wishes that he also developed that level of product sense, because if you look at the CTO of the company, it was literally him plus a senior level product owner equal the CTO of that company, because that CTO, he not only was highly technical, but he also had excellent, like amazing, phenomenal product sense. So coupling those two together takes your career to a whole nother level, way beyond normal circumstances.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. Um, and just to kind of reiterate what I was saying, that was my personally from the engineering side, that was my favorite kind of PLPM to work with. One of my last projects I did, we were building a monitoring tool for. We had these 4F radios all throughout Southern California for communication, and I was working with a really young POPM, and this guy he completely changed my view on the field, because while he did, I mean, I think the term that you guys used was project creep. While he wasn't, actually in the command line with us and actually building it out, he understood the project at every single level. If there was a roadblock we were running into at the technical end, he could understand it. He knew where we were on every single aspect. So I can at least say from the engineering side, that's the kind of POPM I enjoyed working with. You know, uh, and individuals who have domain expertise on the projects that they're working on.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Ibrahim, did you have any specific questions about the course or kind of how it works or anything like that? Or you're good?
Uh, I think I'm all right as
Okay.
far as the course. Well, would you be able to run over what certs exactly you guys cover in the course?
Yeah, sure. You want to take over?
Yeah,
Or-
absolutely. So we cover 3 main certifications in the course. The first one is your CSPO. That is basically your essentials of product ownership. It's through Scrum Alliance. It also covers your product management skills as well. So product owner, product manager, this kind of gets encompassed inside of your CSPO, right? So this is in the course. There's no exam for the CSPO. It's just a workshop that usually has to get attended. Once you attend the workshop, you are now qualified through Scrum Alliance to become a certified Scrum product owner. That's the first one. The second certification that we just added, it's a new certification, is your AI product owner certification. Okay. This is also through Scrum Alliance. Now, this is a brand new certification that has just came out recently within I want to say within the past month or so. And our upcoming alumni that are our upcoming students that are in our batch right now, I think they're in the 5th week or the 6th week, they are actually going to be the first ones from Mentor Agile to be taking this certification. So this is really going to be encompassing how to use AI as a product owner to further your career, as well as how to become better at your career and really just teach you the skills that you need to know um, in terms of what Nabil was mentioning as well, right? Like giving you that taste of vibe coding, right? How to utilize that and how to make that better in your career. And then the last one is a CompTIA certification. Again, this is also a new certification that just came out. It is your AI prompting. So kind of encompasses your AI essentials and how to use prompting to further yourself in your AI skills, especially when it comes to product ownership, right? So just as an example, when I was working at my most recent position, I was a Salesforce product manager and I had to write a ton of stories regarding Salesforce. I was basically building out the application from scratch for my sales team. I was constantly on GPT, building out stories, putting in prompts, experimenting with different prompts to get that perfect story that the developers could then take, utilize, and get my vision across to them. I kind of had free reign when it came to building this application out, right? So I wanted my thoughts. I had to basically get my thoughts in an articulated version, and to do that, it was all through prompting, right? So that helped me, and personally, I think this is a certification that everyone should take, regardless of if you're a product owner or not. I think everybody should know how to use prompting correctly, right? And I think Nabil, maybe if you have a couple thoughts on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. There are different eras when it comes to using AI. So there was an era where people were just using ChatGPT, putting in random prompt, hey, make me a user story XYZ. That is actually not a very safe way of going about it. For those of you that are viewing this, I would recommend you be careful when you're putting company information into ChatGPT because you could be violating some of the guidelines. Unless they have unless they have an agreement with ChatGPT. Like for example, my previous employer, it was healthcare interoperability, and they had an agreement, enterprise level agreement with OpenAI, so that they have specific keys that are then given to us. We use those keys to use the OpenAI's API so that we can use ChatGPT. And as long as we're using those keys, anything we're entering in there is completely confidential. So even if there's, let's say, code snippets and whatnot, there's no breach in any way, shape, or form because it's signed under that agreement. Whereas if I were to just open up my ChatGPT account and start putting in company information, surprisingly enough, right? Not only is that a breach, obviously, and if my employer were to find out, I would be liable for that. But interestingly enough, just so you guys know, because I was involved in the process of them getting approved by OpenAI, it was me and that senior engineer that were really, pushing the AI initiative like a couple of years ago. Interestingly enough, for those that are the admins of those enterprise accounts, they actually get notified if somebody in a personal OpenAI ChatGPT account is entering any sensitive or confidential company information. And if there's any aspects of the code base that are being entered by private citizens, like using their personal accounts, you at the enterprise level as an admin actually get alerted of that. So that's why I always tell people to be careful, right? There are proper, legitimate ways of going about it. Some companies, like for example, we got acquired. So our company got acquired. When we got acquired, the parent company, they did not like to use OpenAI. Rather, they were all in on Google AI Suite, right? They were 100% locked into Google AI Suite. So that we transitioned over to now using Gemini. Now, the beauty of understanding proper prompting, you avoid vendor lock-in, right? Where you get really good at using just one tool, but hey, it turns out there's another tool that's even better, or there's another model that's even better. Well, if you have good skills in terms of your prompting, you're kind of agnostic in that sense. It doesn't matter which model you're using. You're able to articulate yourself well to these LLM models. Do you see what I'm saying? Those are the types of skills that we try to teach. More erring on the side of timeless, evergreen type of stuff, rather than here today, gone tomorrow, right? So yeah, there's
For
a lot that
sure.
could be said, but I hope that gives some clarity.
Absolutely. If I could squeeze in one more question.
Yeah, of course.
Um, what kind of POPM do you see thriving in the coming years, right? So initially I was mentioning that it does kind of seem like the old school POPM way of doing things where your focus is kind of just like maintaining the backlog or just kind of prioritizing which features are going to come up next in your next sprint or your next cycle. It kind of seems like that model, and correct me if I'm wrong, please. It kind of just seems like that POPM is I mean, in the era of outsourcing, where tech companies are slashing, they're slashing costs left and right, and right now the market has become completely global. I mean, half the calls that I would be on with teams from Eastern Europe, from Mexico. I mean, 50% of my calls were with teams from India. How do you become a POPM in the coming decade that thrives, that companies are in demand for, that you don't really run the risk of? I understand that the risk is always there, but you are less likely to run the risk of being outsourced, or you get what I'm trying to say. I hope I phrased that question okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes sense to me. You want to take it or?
Sure. Well, how about we both give our
Yeah,
thoughts on
sure.
it?
Yeah, I
Okay.
have some thoughts.
What I would say is it would go back to Nabil's initial point, right? The PM that's going to thrive in 2025 and onwards is the TPM, the technical guy, right? The guy that not only can get along with the business team, but they can get along with the engineer team. They are someone that understands their product inside and out, and they are someone that can support and understand the frustrations of developers and understand the frustrations of your business stakeholders and view that from a customer or user perspective, right? To me, at the end of the day, a PM is a problem solver, okay? You have a problem on your business side. You may have a problem on your technical side. The PM comes in and they try their best to fix that problem. I'm not saying they go into the code base, they change the code or anything like that, but there's someone that can help establish a resolution, okay? If you have that skill set and you know how to utilize it, I think you'll always be in demand. And having the technical knowledge and the technical expertise to back up your soft skills will always take you far. Now, the one thing that will always make you stand out, especially in today's market, is knowledge of AI, how to utilize AI, and being able, again, to do something with AI, whether it's vibe coding, whether it's prompting, whether it's market research. Using AI to some capacity is the norm. Right now, it's absolutely the norm. And I don't think too many people have started to realize that in the tech field. So people that you're talking about using waterfall, first of all, anyone using waterfall, I automatically look at as a dinosaur, right? Unless you're working in the government or you're working at a much older medical facility, you're probably not going to be using waterfall anymore at all. Even agile itself is starting to, you can't just know agile anymore. That's not enough, right? As you mentioned, You can't just know the knowledge of Scrum or Waterfall or the ceremonies. There has to be more substance around that, right? So, in my opinion, I think those are the things that will always make a PM stand out. And especially in today's market, having that technical knowledge and backbone, or even some sort of tool, knowing an expertise around a tool like Salesforce, for example, it'll always make you stand out and make you in demand. Nabil, you want to take it?
Yeah, definitely. I would say we're stepping into an era where people will begin to be more capable than ever. Okay? We're stepping into an era where one person is able to do the work of a team. Okay? So what first let's define terms, right? We're using PO, PM. PO is product owner, PM, product manager, right? There's a lot that could be said in terms of differentiating the two, but if I were to give you kind of the main point, as a product owner, you're going to be more focused, it's more insular, okay? It's going to be more focused on the initiatives that the company's already come up with, right? The work that we know that already needs to get done. How can we fit that into the capacity that the team currently has? So more working with working the backlog, making sure the stories are right, making sure the capacity is there, working with the team, working with the stakeholders, making sure all the requirements are understood, all of that good stuff, right? Think more insular, right? When you're talking PM, now you're thinking more external focused as well. It's not just a backlog and a team and whatnot, but it's understanding the market, right? Being able to have market feedback, being able to incorporate market feedback appropriately into your application, getting feedback from stakeholders. So a PM also understands the industry. That's not necessarily an expectation from a PO. Okay. Now, with that said, let's go back to how we're stepping into a world where individuals will have the capacity of teams of people. What is valued then? What's valued is domain knowledge. In my opinion, this is the era. Yes, absolutely. He said TPM or TPO. That's a technical product manager, technical product owner. When you guys look at job listings, you'll see technical product owners. There's job requirements specifically looking for technical product owners and technical product man. Typically, you'll also find they pay more as well. You'll also find usually it's a lot stickier. It's a lot harder to fire a technical product owner or technical product manager. The question is why? The reason why is in this new era that we're stepping into, what will be valued is domain knowledge. I don't think it's sufficient to just be a generalist now. I think you should have all those skill sets of a generalist, but it's important also for you to niche into specific domains that are healthy domains, that are strong domains, such as healthcare, whether it be automotive, whether it be finance. The beauty of product owner and product management is you're not beholden to any one specific industry. The beauty of it is that, people say the job market is good or the job market is bad, right? That's usually like saying the stock market is good or the stock market is bad. Even if the stock market is bad, there's companies that did a 300% up or they're 400% up. Those outliers are always there, right? The same goes for industries when in the job market. Even if an overall job market is down, there are specific industries that are thriving. And the beauty of product owner and product management is that they typically are also looking for a product owner or product manager. Even, you wouldn't even expect universities hire product owners and product managers, surprisingly, right? So that's the thing. I have majority of my expertise specifically in the healthcare domain. And what I find compared to others that haven't really established a domain is I just get way more job offers because it's a lot harder to find a technical product owner in healthcare than it is to just find a general product owner or product manager. So that's kind of a bit of my recommendations. I think domain expertise is very, very helpful in this new era to be stickier, to be harder to let go, Yeah, like, knowing the US healthcare system, it's a lot harder for you to outsource that to Romania, let's say, right? Someone that has experience in the US healthcare system, right? So this is just like one little example, but I hope it kind of ex- explains the point that I'm trying to make. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with in regards to healthcare, I'm sure companies want people who are knowledgeable about HIPAA requirements and things of that
Yes.
sort. So for sure,
Yes.
um, that makes a lot of sense actually.
Yeah, fantastic. Nice. Ibrahim, anything else?
Nothing coming to mind. Like I said, hey, this was a surprise, guys. They got me. I wasn't expecting this, but this has been really helpful. And honestly, I'm really looking forward to getting into this field.
Really looking forward to it, man. Looking
You know,
forward to it. Hit us up anytime. And thank you so much for being our guinea pig and jumping onto our first live stream. We appreciate you.
appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Okay.
Take
Thank you.
care.
Take care. Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.
Assalam.